Welcome to 180 U-Turn, the talk show that features some of the greatest conversion stories of our time. Stories of men and women who are on the highway to hell when they encountered a Damascus Road event that completely turned their lives around. Hello everyone, I'm Steve Savant, and today we're broadcasting live from the Transforming Life Center in the heart of Phoenix, Arizona, one of the premier rehab facilities for addiction services and community support for men that are homeless and in poverty. And for more information on any of their classwork, recovery meetings, work therapy, monitoring, vocational development, group or individual counseling, just go out to their website and check it out at phoenixrescuemission.org. That's phoenixrescuemission.org. And hey, if you want to write me at the show, it's Steve at 180uturn.com. That's Steve at 180youturn.com. Happy to take your email. I love the Bible verses you guys send me. It's great. I love the exhortations. I always try to respond. If I can, I'll do it. And today on 180, we're putting a spotlight conversion on Steve Boho. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you for having me.
I really, first of all, thank you for having a good name like Steve. I mean, it's going to be easy interview, right? I can remember your name. And I'm sure Boho's been butchered over the years, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, but you're used to it now. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I just want to welcome you to the show, and I read your story, chatted with you a little bit on the phone. I love stories of redemption, but as our format in our show goes, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we talk about the bad boy issues. And I'm sorry for that, but that's what really drives not only our audience, but people who are in the same situations that you and I were in our testimonies. So it's really great to be able to share because people are going to benefit from it. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about your upbringing. How many children were in your family?
I have 3 sisters, and I have 3 older sisters and a younger sister.
Okay, so you have about five kids in the family, right?
Correct.
And where did you grow up? Here?
I was born in Baltimore, Maryland. I moved out here when I was 3 years old, so I pretty much grew up here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Now, I noticed that you said in your brief that your parents went through a divorce. Was that before or after you got here?
That was after we got here,
okay.
When I was about 6 years old.
Now, I don't ever want to blame ultimate addiction issues and us going south, doing time in prison, blah, 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 on our parents, but sometimes it is. I just can't get around it. I read your brief. It's your father left your family when you were 6 years old.
Correct.
And he left abruptly.
Yeah, really fast.
And I mean, you didn't even have time to pick up the pieces. And I find that this is a beginning of the end for most people, including my own testimony, which is similar. So when I look at things like this, I'm taken back. And you described a feeling of abandonment and rejection. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was 6, and just like that, in the middle of the night, my father was gone, moved out of state immediately. I just felt, again, alone, abandoned. I just had my sister, so there wasn't another man in the house anymore. It was really just kind of shell-shocked. It all hit me right away. I think there was a time where I was just numb. I didn't realize at that age exactly what had going on. I noticed my mom was really upset, and I knew that they weren't going to be together anymore, but it was really just in the middle of the night.
When he moved out, he actually met another woman, right?
Correct.
And went on with his life.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to bring this up because this comes up every once in a while. It comes up in my testimony all the time. Second marriages, I think sometimes they just forget the first group of kids that came from the first marriage. And so you feel not only abandoned, but you feel rejected. There's no visitation here going on.
No, there wasn't any at all. And I felt rejected. I started to feel anger toward him because he got into another relationship where they had kids. So he was spending more time, I think, I know he was with their kids, and I wasn't having any communication with them at all.
And you start to compare, I did, maybe you can be of the same mind. I started comparing myself here. I'm going to baseball practice and other things, Little League and things, and I see all their fathers playing catch with them on the sidelines. I know they're doing stuff on the side, and that's not happening for me.
Yeah, and growing up at that age and even through my teens, I was really big into sports, into Little League baseball, football, those kind of things. And I saw firsthand fathers and sons coaching the teams, playing catch with them, and I was kind of the odd man out. Fortunately, there were some dads that did step up and would bring me into the mix, but I didn't have that intimate connection, again, with a father. It was always a temporary thing, and then I would get dropped off at home and, be back at home with my sisters.
Steve, honestly, how much did this tax you and impact your life? No dad.
Oh, man, greatly. I mean, again, I wanted to be in Cub Scouts where there was a lot of male role models. Just being with my sisters, I wanted to, to learn the things a young man needs to learn. I felt rejected. I didn't know what the reason was. I thought maybe I blamed myself for him leaving. Maybe I did something wrong and he left.
Why do you think children automatically punt to the position that I must have done something wrong?
Yeah, maybe I didn't know anything else. I really thought that my mom, that the relationship was solid, and it had to have been me. It had to have been maybe or my sisters or something that we did. In my own personal testimony of me being in an orphanage, the priest brought me in at 9 years old to convey to me that the reason my dad was doing time was not because I did something. Right. So, he had to, and I'm thinking like, well, did I feel that? Did I know that? Well, at 12 years old, your mom found another gentleman. Yeah, and just to back up, we were involved in the church right before my dad left, and then all of a sudden we quit going to church. It was,
now, what kind of church was it?
It was a Catholic church.
Me too. Okay.
So, at that time when they when they split and it became a divorce final, we were very involved in the church. I know my mom did catechism and those kind of things, and my dad. But once that divorce happened, we never went back to church again. So that part of my life was also non-existent anymore.
How was this guy? This new guy?
He was great. He was a very kind, patient man. Very blessed to have him in my life. I was nervous because I'd never had, at that time I was 12, so I was a lot more impressionable. But he was very patient, very caring. Looking back at it now, I was, again, so very blessed to have him in my life at that time.
Well, I think that's, and by the way, I have to say, based on all the time I've been in prison ministry for the last 16 years, that's an oddity. Usually the second time guy comes in, it's not any better.
Right. A lot of times it's worse. I hear from a lot of my guys here, a lot of my peers that usually when that situation comes up, it could be a lot worse.
Now, well, you're back in Arizona. You're living there. Your mom's working for the city of Phoenix. Your stepdad's working. Seems like a nice guy, good provider, right?
Exactly.
Good provider. He's taken on one boy and 4 girls.
Right.
I mean, anybody, I'm sorry to say this because you said he was a decent man, so I'm just going to go after this for a little second. Anybody that does that, and he's a decent man, is got my award for hero, right?
Yeah.
You're providing for these aren't even your children, and you're providing for them. Big kudos to him.
Yeah, amen.
Okay, so, you moved to Tempe and from North Phoenix, and you started to make new friends.
Yeah, from Tempe to North Phoenix. With my mother and my stepdad, our situation became better financially, so we were able to move up into a bigger house, and I did start to meet a lot of new people. I went through from 1st to 6th grade, so all my elementary years, I had really bonded with the guys there, not having a father figure in my life, so really made a lot of friends. So moving up to North Phoenix was having to start all over again, pretty much.
Now, it's tough because when you start all over, you're making new friends, and you might do things that you didn't really think about. You kind of start compromising because you're trying to be friendly with people and that you want them to like you.
Yeah, I wanted to fit in for sure. And again, I didn't want to have that feeling of rejection and abandonment, so I would just go along, with what the kids in the neighborhood were doing.
And at the kids in the neighborhood, at the time you were 14, they were all doing weed.
Oh, smoking pot.
Everybody's doing weed.
Drinking. At that time in North Phoenix, a lot of it wasn't developed, so we'd go out into the desert and bring that stuff with us.
And that brought you acceptance because you're token with everybody else.
Brought me acceptance. I put my walls down maybe a little bit, or maybe even built them up with that. But again, I was in with my new friends, and I was accepted.
I find it interesting because now we're in the second generation, the complete second generation. I was the first generation in the 60s. This is our second generation of dope. We're just downloading an inheritance to our children, the second generation, and I fear that we're going to be hitting the third one here in about a 10-year period. So we went through this. Now, in high school, the traditional stuff, I smoke, you drink, you're trying to do cigarettes, you're trying to do weed. But I pretty much stayed away from anything that was going to be nasty at the time. It wasn't our culture at the time. So I only knew the weird guys, the fringe guys that were doing anything bad. But when you got out of high school, you went and joined the Army, right?
I joined the Air Force.
Oh, the Air Force. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. And so when you joined the military, were you in for what, 4 years?
Yes, that's correct.
Did you like it?
I liked it. it gave me a sense of direction at that age. I went overseas, so I was doing a lot of things I had to learn to man up on my own right away. I enjoyed it. It was kind of an escape for me too, because when I finished high school, I wasn't sure on a direction I wanted to go for college or what exactly I wanted to do. A lot of the friends I grew up with through high school were starting to get on the wrong side of the law against their drug abuse and drinking, so those things were coming into play. So before I maybe got caught up into that, I could maybe join the Air Force and get out of this situation.
Do you think you were conscious about that? Hey, I might need to do this as an alternative to what's going on with my friends.
Yeah, I've seen friends all around me getting arrested.
I find that remarkable that you were actually thinking that through, and that was one of your key reasons why you joined the military.
Yeah, probably both thinking it through and desperation.
Well, drinking's always part of many addictions issues, and I always think about people in alcoholism because it's so prevalent. It's in the house. Nobody has open opiates from your parents handing it to you, right? So booze is always going to be a big deal about that. But eventually, all this kind of social drinking and so forth started to catch up to you.
Sure.
Okay, so when this happened, how old were you when you thought, hey, I might have a problem here?
When I really came to thinking I had a problem would probably not been until I was in my 30s.
Okay, so it took a decade to figure out you're functional. You're going to work, you got a jobs, right? And you're still drinking, but you're not missing work, you're not missing time, right?
Exactly. So functioning.
So I think that's where we get the self-deception, where people are like, hey, I'm doing fine. I always report to work. I'm never late. My boss likes what I do,
Right.
Cheering you on. So kind of gives you a false sense of, hey, I can handle it.
Right.
Yeah. And by the way, the only reason I bring it up is just because there'll be a ton of people that'll identify with that.
Sure.
Now, I noticed that, when we talk about here, you had times where you had to walk through some of the things of your first dad's leaving, and especially when you got to Phoenix Rescue Mission through the Life Changing Center. So I'm wondering, in your mind, if you were to tell somebody out there, do not let your bad childhood experiences dictate your future, because that's what happened to me. That sounds like what happened to you.
Yeah, I couldn't control those things back then, and I blamed myself a lot of times. Now I know that I'm a child of God. I have a Father that loves me, a Heavenly Father that loves me. That's been a really revelation for me. I don't have to carry that around. As far as the rejection, I look back at all these things as, there are many times when I was accepted, whether it wasn't when I was in my addiction or not, and I know I can have those things moving forward, but moving forward for me is with Jesus Christ as my Father and keeping my spiritual center.
And when you came to that determination, it's kind of like a lot of times I'm sorry that we have to go through so much to come to that. Right?
Amen.
We can't get off the road to destruction. We're not taking any exit ramp off, and yet we're getting killed out there doing the stuff we're into, and it seemingly takes so long for us to come and wake up out of our stupor.
Yeah, and forgiveness plays a huge part in it. I've been able to forgive, and with that also I can forgive myself, but I do forgive my Father. I don't know everything that happened, but I can forgive, and it's just been taking a load off my shoulders, and now I've been able to, forgiving people, I've been able to accept God's forgiveness too and move forward that way.
Now, when you started getting into certain addictions, what kind of dope are we talking about?
Well, when I got out of high school in the 80s, cocaine was a big thing.
Big thing, yes. Yeah.
So I was into cocaine. Alcohol was always there from my teenage years on. Marijuana came into play when I was in high school. When I got out of high school, cocaine. When I went to the military, it was all about the drinking. That really kicked my drinking game up to fit in with the guys. We would go to the NCO club after working in the hangar all day, and our lead sergeant, our staff sergeant would drink, and that was it to fit in. So my drinking really amplified when I was in the military. When I got out, I fell back into smoking pot. Again, alcohol was always there. Not so much the cocaine at that point, but still my addictions. I was still a drinker, a functioning alcoholic.
And a lot of relationships in and out with women.
Oh yeah, it would always last maybe about 4 or 5 years. Maybe I could say at least 3 or 4 relationships lasted 3, 4, maybe 5 years. Some of them used a substance, some of them didn't. They would maybe try to change me.
But would you say their failure because of your own addictions?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so that was the centerpiece of why it dissolved.
Yeah, eventually I could fool them for so long, but then they would see the real side of me. They would see how the drinking, you know, I could fool them at first, and as time went on, and they would see how my drinking really was. That ended a lot of relationships, friends, and also, you know, with women.
Well, we're going to talk more with Steve about his stories tomorrow and Wednesday throughout the rest of the week. And so right now, what I want to do is I want to remind you that if you're having some of the same talk that we're talking about, you have milestones and you're like, hey, I have the same thing Steve does. You want more information on everything that's going on here at the Transforming Life Center, just go ahead out to their website at phoenixrescuemission.org and check out all their classwork, recovery meetings, work therapy. Maybe you even want to be a volunteer and a mentor here. That if that's you, and if you're retired like I am, and you're just sitting at home, this would be an excellent opportunity for you to really put your hand to the plow and be with people that are trying to help other people. So until next time, I'm Steve Savant, and remember, no one's outside the reach of God. No, not one.